Hi, this is Tim of the 1916 Company. Welcome and thanks for logging on. We are waking up with watches and everything is for sale. Reach out to me directly. I am still Team Mosso at thewatchbox.com to buy, trade, or sell. We sell what we buy what we sell. We are always looking to build inventory. Sell us one watch or an entire collection. We pay cash, we pay fast. We walk you through the process, make it a no-brainer, and no upper limit on value paid. We will buy your entire collection of Paul Newman Daytonas for cash. We also do trades, so if you've got something you don't quite love, and you want to trade a one-off, we can often do one into several watches or several into one, frequently able to offer better value on a trade than an outright purchase. To buy, trade, or sell, reach out to Team Mosso at thewatchbox.com. Back in 2021, Tudor came out with two fascinating versions on the Black Bay 58, one in silver, one in bronze. The bronze, uniquely between the two, has a matched material bracelet. And this watch right here is a boutique exclusive. So being a Black Bay 58, it's compact. 39 millimeters with the Black Bay 58 specific and now 54 specific, caliber 5400. So 70 hours of power reserve, anti-magnetic, highly shock resistant, and chronometer certified. Pop open the clasp. I wanted to show you this example because it really demonstrates how these aluminum-intensive bronze Tudors patina. You've seen this watch before on my channel. This is the first one I've seen that really has an advanced patina. And you can see it's not the catastrophic green-blue patina you see on some bronze watches looking at you, Panerai. It's more of a sort of tarnish that gets burnished on high-contact areas. You can always restore it. You can always have the patina removed without actually reducing metal. But I like the look of it. Now, the watch is easy to wear. And being compact across the wrist, if you're not going to go for something like a Black Bay 54, this really is the way to go. It's unisex. I think a man or a woman could wear this. Something you get back from the old ETA-powered Tudors here is you get back the thinness of those. And you can really rethink the modern move towards ceramic bezel inserts on divers, because I have to say this anodized aluminum thing looks absolutely awesome. We've got a sort of tobacco brown dial, tri-Arabic numerals, a little bit of a Tudor Submariner snowflake look with the hands. Let's do a lume shot, and the watch is quite well loomed. You can see no shortage right there. All three hands too, so you know if the watch is running in the dark. This also marked the debut of the T-Fit clasp on the Black Bay 58 series. You can see how you got 8 millimeters of incremental adjustability built in, a little bit like Rolex's Glide Lock, only that's 20, this is 8, but still integrated with the clasp, which features a clamshell lock and features that I admire, like ceramic spring-loaded pin snaps to maintain the snappy tolerances over time. You can also see we have a little curve to dig your nail in under the clamshell. It feels very solid. It is a rivet-style bracelet, but I emphasize style. Actual adjustments are done using screws, so if you want to size this at home, game on. Easy to do. 60-click bezel. It's got a nice chunky ratchet. It's a bit different from what you get on a Rolex, but you can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, there we go. So this is a wonderfully chunky bezel action right there. And of course, being an in-house caliber Tudor, you have the weird juxtaposition of the pre-1968 Rose logo and the post-1968 Shield logo. All right, so jumping from a very affordable and accessible watch to one that's kind of crazy. This was a 2019 run of 25 pieces. It was the follow-up to 2017's Czapek Place Vendome Tourbillon Suspendu. This was the titanium Ombres. So what you're actually looking at here is the Shadows model. So we've got this chaptering, which is champleve, scooped out gold, and then the scooped out channels are used as a basis into which vitreous paint or glass-based paint is then applied and fired up to 20 times at 800 degrees centigrade to create this black grand faux enamel chaptering that is your dial, your primary dial. There's a power reserve indicator underneath for the manual one 60-hour power reserve. And again, a little bit of luminescence here. People always wonder, so I'll show you. The original Tourbillon Suspendu did not have lume. This one does, so a little bit of a change, I think, for the better there. We have a pusher integrated into the shoulder of the crown, and that allows you to change the lacquered and frosted 12-hour secondary time zone. But note there's also a day-night indicator, so it gives you AM/PM functionality. We have a 1-minute tourbillon with a 3 hertz beat rate. There's one blue screw that acts as a second sand, and you can see a chaptering that acts as a second scale. And it has excellent depth. There's a lovely black polished bridge mirrored from side to side over the second time zone as well as the tourbillon. And then we have a dial that functions effectively as part of the movement. As you can see, all of these are anchored bridges on the base plate. And the dial proper is this Champlavet enamel ring right there. The dial side screws look great. The watch is 43.5 millimeters, but only 50.8 lug to lug, which makes it very agreeable on a smaller wrist, especially with the downward curved lugs. Case design's pretty nuanced with a recessed media blasted flank, then satination, then we have polished contrast with a dramatically boxed and cambered sapphire that looks a little bit like a vintage plexi. Of course, Czapek, one-time business partner of Patek, they went their own ways during the 1840s and reestablished in the 2010s. Czapek is a Geneva-based neighbor of its older sister, but it's very much a startup company under Xavier de Roquemorel, a very cool CEO who's a neat guy to know. It's always good to believe in the people behind your watches. This is 25 of 25, which is a great serial number to have. And the movement, which is 34.8 millimeters in diameter, was designed to fit hand and glove with the case. Designed by Chronode, a super high-end and highly regarded movement specialist. The nice thing about Czapek is that they are proudly an établisseur. They specify the designs and the specs. They go to the best suppliers. They get all the parts, then they bring them in, assemble them, and regulate them. By Chronode, this is the caliber SXH2. It was their second movement. It is an exclusive movement. You won't find this elsewhere. Lots of lovely things here. You can see a media blasted surfacing because Côte de Genève would not have been used on 1840s Czapek pocket watches. The beveling is excellent. And if you look at the ratchet wheel on the barrel, it's been internally beveled, which I deeply appreciate. It's an easy watch to wear, again, because it's short across the lug-to-lug measurement, but also fairly thin at under 14 millimeters. It will actually slide under a cuff, so I can recommend this for 15 centimeters circumference or larger. Now, if you want a sporty watch that will act as a sports watch and fit on an even smaller wrist, then I got something very cool. This is an 888-piece limited edition by Piaget. It is the Piaget Polo Blue Panda Chronograph. So you can see why this is called a Blue Panda. Instead of black on silver white, we have blue on silver white. A case that is nicely sized at 40 millimeters, and it's very thin, so we'll throw this on the wrist. You can see less than 48 millimeters lug tip to lug tip. And a case that I believe was under 11 millimeters, and in fact, we will test this in real time. Pardon me, it's a 42 millimeter case, so I don't mean to lead you astray here, but you can see that it is 11.4, which is quite slender, all things considered. So this is a watch that's easy to wear, fully loomed, automatic winding steel, 100 meters water resistant, and on the wrist, because it is short across the wrist, it wears beautifully. The strap is very flexible, and the movement, it is a Cartier caliber. It's a Valfleurier movement designed for Cartier and Piaget. So this is also known as the 1904 CHMC. Piaget calls this the 1160. What it is a column wheel vertical clutch automatic with 50 hours of power reserve, a level of decoration suitable for Piaget, hacking seconds, and a quick set date, with a dial that has a nice upscale look with a lot of depth, appliques, blackened indices, hands, and chapter rings for the registers. A very nice watch. It even features a couple of thoughtful details, including a buckle on the clasp that matches the design of the bezel, and then we've got a pull tab quick release for the clasp from the strap, and then pull tab quick releases for the strap from the case. Let's say you want your 42 millimeter chronograph to be more traditional, upscale, exclusive, and dressy. Well, Patek Philippe has you covered. Back in 1998, they launched the 5070 in yellow gold. 4 years later, they launched it in white gold. It was only made from 2002 to 2006 in white gold. 48.3 millimeters from lug tip to lug tip, 42 millimeters in diameter. It was huge for a dress watch in 1998. It's based on the Patek Philippe Museum Collection, reference 2512 chronograph, which looks almost exactly like this, but in yellow gold with a black dial, and that's 46. So if 42 was big, this is almost the mid-size compared to the watch that inspired it. Blackened white gold hands and numerals. We have a tachymeter scale and several concentric scales, as well as a pagoda-like stepped bezel designed to disguise the disparity between the Lemania-based CH2770 movement and the actual size of the watch. It's beautifully flawed, and that's part of the appeal. We also have this vertical satination on the dial, and you can see that with a long seconds hand for the chronograph and a 2.5 hertz beat rate, it chugs along like a vintage pocket watch chrono. The movement has been highly modified from the Lemania base, 6-position adjustment, overcoil, hairspring, free sprung, Geneva seal finishing, and 60 hours of power reserve versus 48 for the La Manna. It's effectively become Patek's own movement with very little other than the train geometry kept, as all of these parts have been made and finished by Patek. You could see that the beveling is exquisite, Côte de Genève on the brass parts, satination on the steel parts, everything turning black as I angle the movement is black polished. We have interior angles sharply drawn, an absolute masterpiece with a matching white gold buckle. And you can see from 2002 to 2006, Patek was still using rhodium on its white gold, which is why the case is blazingly white like platinum, but the buckle is a little bit warmer because it's made of gray gold. A little bit of an odd disparity, but this is a watch that is steeped in contradictions. Beautiful, flat, broad, and one of my all-time favorites. I think for me, a 5070 chronograph would be the end of the line for my chronograph ambitions. I love the yellow gold, but I've been outvoted. Most people prefer the platinum, the white, and the rose. Okay. Now, if you don't want to decide and you want rose and a white metal, we have the steel Breitling Navitimer B01 Chronograph 43. So you've got the circular slide rule, you've got the B01 chronometer certified vertical clutch column wheel chrono with a 70-hour power reserve, hacking seconds, and a quick set date. But significantly, the watch is under 49 millimeters lug to lug, so Georges Kern is making good on his promise to create more wearable Breitling watches. You can see that the crystal is remarkably thick because of the distortion that occurs off axis, but also that this watch fits well on my wrist. It uses a crimping system, so there's no holes in the strap. It simply crimps underneath the clasp, and then there's no need for minder loops. Breitling over-delivering a bit here with an aviator strap. These are normally calfskin with a contrasting stitch. This one is gator, and I love it. Column wheel feel on the B01 is actually excellent. And as you can see, it's a nicely sized, handsome movement. It wasn't designed for a display case back when it debuted on the Chronomat in 2009, but it looks really good, almost as though it had been designed all along. It's a beautiful watch, and if you're going to own a Breitling, get a Navitimer. Easy to use, too, the circular slide rule. For example, let's say I want to divide 10 by 5. Well, I take 10, little red 10 on the outer scale. I place it over 5. Like a fraction. Then I go to the index. 10 divided by 5 is 2. That's how it works. Let's say I want to multiply 12 by 3. I move the 12 to the inner index right there. See where that says 10? Now I've got the 12 over 10. I want to multiply by 3, so I'm going to find 3 on the inner scale. You can see just above 3, 36. So I multiplied 12 by 3, and then I read the answer on the outer scale. Very cool. Lots of fun. A flight calculator in the 1950s vein and one of the all-time great watches. If you're going to buy a Breitling and just get one, get a Navitimer. It's also nicely loomed. No loss of credibility as a sports watch, but if you want to go in the water, get a Super Ocean. I've got a watch that's coming up very soon that might be an even better choice if you want to go in the water. But for now, let's stick to all-time classics. I said if you want to get a Breitling, get a Navitimer. If you want to get a Patek, get a Calatrava or a Nautilus. And this is one of the all-time great Calatravas, traditionally sized in white gold and 36 millimeters in diameter by 7.8 millimeters thick. This is the Patek Philippe Calatrava 5119, a model launched in 2007. This is an old-style hobnail bezel Calatrava. It traces its lineage back to the 1973 3520. So you've got this Clou de Paris pyramide hobnail in double row outside. You've got lugs that are actually attached to the case back, and there's a bit of a gap between lug and case. So you've got this stepped out detached lug design, a little bit like the current 5226. White lacquered dial, and it is truly white, not silver white. Turn it all over. By the way, only 40.9 millimeters lug to lug. Everyone gets to wear this watch. No lower limit on wrist size. Caliber 215, manufacturer, manual wind, free sprung, 5-position adjustment, Geneva hallmark, 44-hour power reserve, a very traditional layout. Crown wheel, ratchet wheel, center wheel, third wheel, fourth wheel, escape wheel, and balance. Gyromax style balance. This is a pocket watch in miniature with this traditional train layout. Bevels are outstanding. You can see the same treatment in the jewel sinks. You can also see that there's a lovely solarization on the ratchet wheel and crown wheel, and that the teeth themselves, I can't show this because I don't have enough magnification, but they've been micro beveled on their side. You don't need a monster complication or a trophy watch to own the Patek Philippe. You just need a canonical Calatrava, and this is a great example. Like I said, every wrist, even kids could wear this well. It's for him, it's for her, modern watch fans and vintage watch fans. Everyone is welcome. Now, this is not a large watch, but it's only large by comparison, but it gives us something that's very special at Patek. Terry Stern's revision of his own 2011 5496P. He came back in 2016 with this 5496P-015, fixing the alleged austerity of the original, which was grayscale and a little bit chilly. He added rose gold hands, rose gold frames for the calendar, rose gold indices, rose gold dimple scale for your minutes and seconds, and then this was the kicker, rose gold numerals and cabochon as applique for the retrograde perpetual calendar scale. Vertical satin finish. Now we have the hot and the cold, the icy hot with the rose gold and the silver dial. We have the retrograde style perpetual calendar that's been a staple of the Patek catalog since 1992's 50/50. So we have a retrograding date, we have the day in a frame, we have the month in a frame, we have the leap year cycle in a frame, platinum Patek, so diamond between the lugs, 39.5 millimeters in diameter, an uncommon application of a center rotor automatic on a Patek Perpetual calendar. This is caliber 324, free sprung, 6-position adjusted, 45-hour power reserve, Gyromax style balance, anti-magnetic silicon Spiromax hairspring. You can look at the decoration. I could wax eloquent with extra words, but the finish is self-evident to the eye. It tugs at the heartstrings. The brain almost need not apply, but if you wish, from an intellectual standpoint, this watch is guaranteed to run no worse than -3 + 2 seconds per 24 hours from the factory. Full matching platinum clasp, throw it on the wrist, easy to wear, low slung, under 12 millimeters thick. It disappears on the wrist. It's also short across the wrist, so a wrist as small as 14 centimeters circumference will enjoy wearing this platinum and rose gold accented retrograde automatic perpetual calendar. Finally, a watch that you've seen before, but it never ceases to amaze. I mentioned that you might want a different way of getting wet with your sports watch when I mentioned the Navitimer. That is for flying high above the waves. This is for taking the plunge. Launched in 2021, a revolution in the dive watch genre. This is the Bethune DB28 GS Grand Bleu, 44 millimeters in diameter by 13 millimeters thick in grade 5 titanium. It features the company's signature variable geometry, spring-loaded floating lugs, a sapphire unidirectional rotating dive bezel, screw-down crown, 150-meter water resistance, 5-day power reserve, triple parachute shock protection, titanium and white gold patented balance, blued titanium hour and minute hands, black badger passive lume, a power reserve indicator over in the profile, and a minute repeater governor. Why a minute repeater governor? Well, the better to slow down the dynamo that drives the 4 LEDs. Collectively, they backlight the sapphire bezel, allowing you to easily reference the time scale against the minute hand in the dark. I'm lining them up right now. The bezel ratchet is chunky. You can also see that the barrels discharge, and the governor is that minute repeater centrifugal governor so that they don't discharge in, say, 3 seconds. Instead, you get about 30 to 40 seconds of continuous illumination, and we have a shock protection system here that's been proven in pro tennis without fracturing. We also have passive lume from James Thompson at Black Badger, so the watch actually has both. On the reverse of the case, you can see we have the underlying mechanism that drives the power reserve indicator. A lot of fine finish. First, everything that's turning black as I angle this watch has been finished with diamond paste to a black or specular polish. We have the shock protection system I mentioned. 1, 2, 3 shock protection springs. It's important for durability and survival under impact, but also for chronometry and better timekeeping. The barrels cannot accidentally be overwound. One of them will slip. That's patented. It's called self-adjusting barrels. We have microlight engraving, which is a reductive guilloche that Denis Flageolet, the watchmaking founder of Bethune, has created. He wanted something that looked more modern than, say, a Breguet-style rosette. So he created microlight, these narrow parallel strakes. We have beveling that's world-class on the barrel bridge, as well as the edge of the power reserve indicator frame, as well as on the balance bridge itself. And if you look carefully, you'll actually find that the ratchet wheel has been micro-beveled on its teeth, so no detail overlooked. You can even see that the shock protection springs on their tops have been satinated. And on the reverse of the case, we have more micro-light engraving. And in profile, even the case itself has been engraved with microlight. And we have blackened zirconium inserts within the hollows of the lugs. This is an easy watch to wear. Don't be put off by the 44 millimeter diameter. On the wrist, it wears more like a 42, and you can even see it's about to slip underneath my cuff. So if your wrist is as small as 14 centimeters in circumference, I normally don't say this with a 44 millimeter watch, but considering this is all titanium and sapphire, and it's got variable geometry lugs, yeah, it would fit on a 14 centimeter circumference wrist. Reach out to me. My company owns Bethune. If we can't get you this example and it sells before you reach out, we can always get you in the queue for a new one. I can't promise you immediate delivery, but I can promise you, with dial depth like that and technology to match, it will be worth the wait. Reach out to tmosso at thewatchbox.com for purchase and pricing details.